Awesome. So we're gonna like just get right into it. So, but before we do, I'm super excited to hear about your guys' story and just kind of what's transpired in the business over the last couple of months. But before we do that, just tell me quickly who you are, and for those of you that don't know the kind of business that you're in, who you are, what do you do, who do you serve? Tell me a little about your business.
All right. Well, I'm Teddy Wall, and you know, one of the owners of Sit Means Sit, Middle Tennessee, and we train dogs, and help. Our focus is to really help and build a client relationship with their dog and improving their relationships with their dogs.
Love it. That's
I'm
awesome. And you've been doing
Susie,
that
and
for a
I'm
minute,
also
yeah?
co-owner.
Sorry,
Yeah, we've been
yeah.
around a little bit over 5 years, and yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And then, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Susie. Why don't you introduce
You're fine. I
yourself?
think there's, I think there's a delay. So, I'm Susie and co-owner of Sit Means Sit. And yeah, we just want people to have a good relationship with their four-legged friend, a relationship that they want to have. So we help them get there and supply them for a lifetime of training for their path along that way.
I love it. It's a great niche to be in, especially like most people, especially out here. I also happen to be in Middle Tennessee, so people love their animals and their dog. Actually, before when I lived in the Pacific Northwest, lots of dog people out there too. I feel like I've only lived in dog communities, and yeah, there's definitely like that special bond, right, with your clients and their fur babies. It's probably, if you're sitting around dinner with someone, they're either probably going to show you a picture of their dog or a picture of their kid, or probably both. So,
Yeah,
tell
part
me a
of the
little. So,
family for sure.
yeah, exactly. It's an extended part of the family. So, tell me a little. So, it's been a few months now, probably 2, 3 months since we have been working together. But before you jumped in with GrowthMap, would love to hear a little about kind of like what were some of the problems that y'all were facing in the business that you were wanting to tackle that kind of led you to working with us.
In my opinion, um, I've been with High Level for the most part for a while. I've been with several different agencies, and I knew that the reason why I signed up with High Level or started using that software is because I knew that it can do a lot of the things I wanted to do or I needed for my business, in terms of automation and and just the functionality. And I tried several different agencies, and everybody promised that it would make it work and make it happen for me, and it really didn't. It really didn't pan out. The agency I was with prior to GrowthMap came the closest, and they did a really good job. But once I saw what GrowthMap could do, what you could do, I knew you guys were the ones. Just how in depth and robust you made the system, and yeah, it just I just knew.
I love it. I love it. I'm curious, from so the reason why maybe you started with High Level or other CRMs kind of in the past. What did you notice in your business where you thought, oh, we probably need a tool like this to do some of the automations and do some of the things that you're doing now?
The repetitions, just got tired of having to remember to repetitively do stuff that everybody got and just over and over and over again. If I wanted to take that off my plate so that, one, I didn't have to remember to do it.
Yeah.
And two, it would be a lot more reliable, and to be able to service our customers better.
Love it. Yeah. So you were looking for kind of that consistency of service, also the piece of knowing that, all right, we're going to do the same thing every time with every client to provide that excellent service. And then also without you having to worry about remembering what to do or like you said, the repetition.
Yep.
Love it. And, when you started with GrowthMap, so, before you started with GrowthMap, you had tried a couple of other tools, a couple of other CRMs. And like you said, you had made some growth to that point. Just sounds like probably by implementing some systems, some automation. You saw what we had to offer, and you're like, I gotta jump in with GrowthMap. If you hadn't done that, if you kind of had just continued on with what you were already doing, what do you think that would have looked like in the business? What would have been the impact in the business, if you just kind of continued business as usual?
What's it?
I felt like we were working really hard to do our part as far as like the advertising and, customer service and all of that, but we were just missing something. Like we just weren't getting quality leads, and, y'all allowed us, even the bot, to be able to reach out to people. We've had 2 people schedule a demo the other night in the middle of the night. I probably would have lost them if they would not have scheduled, because we wouldn't have called back till 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and they probably would have went with somebody else or found changed their mind or whatever. So I just feel like we would still be not necessarily struggling, but really trying to find the missing piece of what we needed to kind of put it all together. And y'all have allowed us, I do believe, to do that. We're seeing a lot more quality leads, and we're being able to reach out to our clients a lot quicker, a lot happier clients, because we're more responsive thanks to y'all's program. So all in all, I think it's been great for all realms of our business.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. What do you think? So like, those are some of the impacts on the business. It sounds like things probably, it would have been still kind of guessing what's going to work, what's not.
Yeah.
Lead flow is struggling, those kind of things. What about like in just your personal lives? Obviously we all do, you wouldn't be in dog training if you didn't love working with clients and you didn't love animals. But at the same time, it's a business. It's meant to make money to support your life. What would the impact have been kind of outside of work hours if you hadn't made some of these changes that you've made over the last couple of months?
I don't think we would have had it outside of work hours. We'd still be working.
Still be trying to find that missing piece.
It's funny that you asked that question, because right now we're reading this book called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And, and the chapter we just got finished reading. Yep, there it is. That's it.
This was not planned, by the way. This was literally not planned.
That's really creepy.
But at the beginning of the book, it states, hey, what is it that you don't want to do, right? So you can focus that 20% on, the things that you want to do to really, really grow and improve your business. And GrowthMap allows me to not have to focus on that 80% that I don't want to do, and allows me to put my energy into, becoming a better dog trainer to service my clients better, and put out better dogs. So that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I love that. Especially because I feel like that top 20% is ever changing too. When you first start your business, you're trying to figure out like, what are the systems even? You're doing everything manually. And then eventually that changes. Okay, how do we systematize this? How do we get people in place? Maybe now, how do we get some automation in place, but we can still deliver that same level or better service. So I love that. And yeah, it's totally funny that, like I said, was not planned, but this is one of my, Benjamin Hardy's one of my favorite authors. I'll read anything that comes from that guy. And 10X Easier Than 2X literally is on my desk.
That's cool.
That's so funny. Yeah. So, getting kind of specific with GrowthMap specifically, I know there's a lot of things that we've done, a lot of things that you can do in GrowthMap. What are like the top, like 2-3 things specifically that we've done with you that you feel like you've implemented in GrowthMap that have made some of the biggest difference? Some of the frameworks or systems or automations or things, like, what are the top 2 or 3 things that stick out to you?
I think you are really good. I'm good at customer service. Teddy is too, but he's also excellent training dogs. You're really good at advertising and know what people like. You just, the simple thing of changing our emails and changing like the patterns of how you send stuff. Like, that I don't, I didn't go to school for that. I don't naturally know that. If you bring somebody in front of me, I'm going to do my best to sell them something. I know how to do that. But for you to be able to get them in front of us, and the systems that y'all put into place, that has been great, including the bot has been really nice. Just instant, getting back with people. That's what people want now. And I've always preached that in any business I've been in, just call them back or answer the phone when they call. That's going to put you above 90% of the people in your business. So y'all have allowed us to do that.
I love it. I'm curious with the AI, with the bot specifically, what is it that you think about that why did that matter? Maybe what were some of your reservations, if any, kind of like before that was implemented, or even kind of the actual the initial, like as you're kind of like training it,
Yeah.
what was that process like?
I was a little nervous about its capabilities because I've talked to a bot before and been pretty frustrated and be like, can I please talk to a human? But I watch about every conversation I can if I'm not in a demo or something. And pretty impressed. I think just that immediate, when somebody reaches out, like they want to know how we can help them at that point, and it's done a great job at doing that. If we need to step in, we can, but it does allow us to step in, which is also nice, but it's made things a lot easier for me. I know, instead of, waking up and having like 5 people that I need to reach out to. And if they were up late filling out the form, they're probably not going to be up at 8 o'clock trying to figure out when to call them, when they go to work, when not to harass them. And nobody wants a call coming from a number they don't know. So it just allows that kind of instant response, I think, that people look for these days because everybody's busy.
Yeah, no, it's the speed. I think there's one thing that we've noticed. I think you guys started to recognize, and you already had some good systems in place to be able to follow up with leads and things when they came in. But that speed to lead, being able to get a message out to someone instantly, and not just a message that seems like a canned message, but actually allows them to engage with the business, is key. I love that.
Very personal.
I'm super impressed on how intuitive it is. Like, it's just straight intuitive, you can carry a conversation like you're talking to a human. And
yeah,
I really like that.
Can you tell this story? Because I think one of my, and maybe there's others since, and if you have a better one or a takeaway that you think kind of most exemplifies that intuitive, like, surprise, like, oh, this surprised me, I wouldn't expect that from a bot. Maybe it's the one with D, the emergency responder. Maybe it's another one, but I love that story. If you share that.
Yeah. So D, she was like one of the first leads that come through as soon as we turned on the bot. And this is actually when I was completely sold on it. The bot was doing the same in terms of, offering different dates and times for to schedule a demo. And, she said, well, it's tough because, I'm a first responder and my schedule is kind of wacky, so those days don't work. And, the bot replied back, hey, D, thank you for your service. We really appreciate you, first responders. How about these days? And it just went right back into it. And I was just like, oh, that was great.
You're just sitting there watching, like, wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. I know it can be hard in a lot of entrepreneurs because you care about your business, and there's probably always that little bit of nerves, but it's that relinquishing of control to go. My mentor and coach says, hey, 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome, and that could be a team member. And you're going to run into the same things where you have to train that team member, or in this case, it could be an AI. And yeah, I was excited to share that one. When you shared that conversation with me, I'm like, oh, I'm showing everyone this because this is pretty cool. And I think it's the perfect example of what happened, because a lot of the conversations, they just go to script. It's like, what's the name of your dog? Great. Here's some times. Great. This time works. And that's like, okay. But when it goes off track like that, and it still is able to kind of come back on track, accomplish the task, make the prospect feel cared for, I think that's where it really, really shines. Before all of this, what was, let's talk some numbers here. What were kind of like average sales like in a dog training business, month to month, before you jumped in with GrowthMap?
We were monthly, probably about 20 to 30K a month. In sales, and prior to GrowthMap. And then I think our first month with you guys, we immediately went over 30K. And then this month we are over 60. So we're definitely moving in the right direction.
That is the correct, yeah, up and to the right. That's the direction we want to go. That's amazing.
Yep.
What, just curious, what are your goal? What do you think? And maybe has it expanded, especially with reading the 10X is, easier than 2X. Have your goals shifted at all and like kind of what you want to accomplish or what you know is achievable?
Yeah, my goals are always ever changing. As I
Yeah.
hit them, I'm making new ones. So now that we've hit this 60K month, my next goal is 100K month. Um, which is what I've never had. So we're gonna do it.
Heck yeah.
I think
Let's
we've
go.
always had the goal to take the business as far as we can take it. But now we start to see there's more opportunity in that and like moving in the right direction, and we feel comfortable. And it's ever changing when you own your own business. It's kind of always working to find the thing that works, but we feel really good right now about where it's headed. So just continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a two-part question, and I would love both y'all's answers on this one. Really, really curious. On one side, growth map aside, if you were kind of starting over, where would you encourage people to start when they go down this path of diving into a tool like a CRM tool with some automations, and then probably more specifically, like what would you recommend to someone who's, considering growth map? What should they know? What do you wish you knew even just 90 days ago? And what would be your recommendations to them as they're getting started? Because I know, part of the reason why I asked the question is we have a lot of clients. Some of them do some of this stuff they should do. Some of them do a lot of it. And you guys have really leaned in. So I think people would be wise to take counsel from you. And the numbers are just reflective of that too. Starting at 20 to 30K, now north of 60 on your way to 100. So what would be your advice to someone, who's one, considering jumping into growth map, and two, like what do they need to do to actually get the most out of their investment of time, money, energy into growth map?
I would say first know or to really understand their business model, and then kind of what they want to achieve with it, as well as also know how they want to support their clients. I think a good understanding of that, you can then build or design growth map around that. I think growth map is kind of one of those things where it's like it could fit every situation, or fit every client. You just got to know how to implement it or get fitted into your system. That makes sense. But it can handle everything that I've seen out there, amongst the other franchise owners. In terms of that one platform that does it all. A lot of times, or at least historically, it's kind of been a struggle to, hey, we want one thing, and they have multiple avenues to try to complete that one job. Whereas now I feel like GrowthMap can do that, and it can apply to everyone in our industry, or within our sit family, and do it all. So, yeah.
Love it. Yeah. So really understand your business and your business model. Know what the experience is that you want to create for your customers. Because if you have clarity on that, then growth map, like me and my team, we can help you design that system.
Yeah.
Or it'd be harder
Yeah.
if you didn't understand that, right? It's like, oh well, what
Exactly.
do you want to build? We could build anything. So what do you want to build? Yeah, I think that's super helpful. That makes a ton of sense. Susie, how about you? What would be your advice to someone who's considering jumping into growth map, and what they would need to do to make the most of their time and investment?
Yeah, I agree with everything Teddy said. And my biggest thing, and it always has been, is customer service. And, you've got to get back to your customers. You've got to make them feel like they're part of a family, which they are when they sign up with us. And GrowthMap we've always done that, but GrowthMap has allowed us to do that a lot more, just because y'all are quick with the clients, but also it gives, Teddy loves to train dogs. He loves to solve problems with dogs. He loves to street market with dogs. I enjoy people. I love to talk to people. I love to get their stories. I love to help people, see people walk in with a crazy dog, leave, with an amazing dog, and they're happy, and it makes me so happy. but you've allowed us to do that instead of me sitting behind a computer like, oh, I've got this 20 minutes, to follow up with this client. I got to call all these people back. So I think you've allowed us to have better customer services. And I think that's the kind of key to a business like this, that that's what separates us from other dog training companies. So
I love it. I'm curious, what do you think that you've done? Because obviously like we've got the system and we have our team and we're helping provide support and get things installed and things for you. Like, what do you think that you've done that someone else would need to do if they jumped into GrowthMap? Because I'll tell you, it's one thing to give you the tool, it's another one to actually use it in the business. So like, what do you think that you've done to be able to actually get the value from that and provide your customers that kind of experience?
Be patient and explain to you exactly. I mean, I would reach out, like a lot of people have reached out, I know, to Teddy about what, how's this working? Why is this working? So I would definitely reach out to people using GrowthMap and say, okay, like what has been, like you're asking us, what are your key like things that GrowthMap is helping you do?
Yep.
And figure out if that could help them in their business, for their business to grow. So I would just reach out. I mean, a lot of people have reached out to Teddy, I know, and we've just shared kind of what we're sharing here, which have allowed us to do. So I think that would be my advice, is to just get in touch with somebody that's actually done it, experienced it, and then go from there and see if it would help.
And then I would add on to that is get creative. Feel like every time I have a situation throughout the day, I'm like, I'm gonna take note of that and I'm gonna ask Gabe. I'm gonna take note of that and I'm gonna ask Gabe. Because you just don't know if you don't ask. But every time you've been able to hit the mark, you just make it work. So I'm like, okay, I'm really liking this.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's something that I know I personally am really excited about. I've had agency type business before where we've just done projects for clients, and that was always fun. Have also worked in software where it's like we produce software that clients use, and something that's really kind of core to GrowthMap is we really do see ourselves as kind of like your personal Sherpa. Like, we're taking you on this trek. We want to get you to the top of Everest. It's why, I mean, it's literally built into our branding. So it's not just meant to be software, but there's also the coaching and the consultative part of it as well. Where like we see, our success is tied to yours. So like it makes me thrilled to hear. It's like, all right, awesome. Like, sales are up and they're continuing to go up and goals are expanding and getting bigger. And like, how do we get this more dialed in? And we'll match you step for step, right? But like, if you're not stepping up the hill, it's like, all right, we're sitting down here at base camp, not heading out. Like, but let's start heading up the trail together. And so like, you guys have been great partners in that. I just want to say thank you to that too, and even just be willing to jump on and share a story. Hopefully this, helps someone else who's, either considering or even just kind of like looking at how do I grow my business and knowing what's possible. I talk about this thing called the three closes, and it's really anytime you have to make kind of a big decision, especially in business, whether it's a strategy move or we're going to go hire someone, or we're going to go purchase a piece of software. It's like, oh, am I sold on the model? Like, does the model make sense? And obviously you guys saw that. You're like, hey, we've been doing these things manually by hand and just rep after rep after rep. And we need to build some systems and processes here if we want to get our time back. And so you're like, all right, I'm sold on the model. Then it's like, okay, am I sold on the guide, like the company that's going to help us? Like, is it going to be this CRM or that CRM? Is it going to be this agency or that agency? Like, that's super important. And then the last one is probably the most important, is like, am I sold on me? Like, do I think I actually have what it takes to implement this model? Like, can I actually use this tool? Because I know a lot of people look at tech and they get like deer in the headlights, like, oh man, I'm not a tech person. I train dogs and that's what I want to do. I don't want to be in front of a computer. And you guys have like really leaned into, I think, all of that, and like leaning into the model, leaning into our team and letting us do what we do best so you can do what you do best. And yeah, I just want to say I'm super pumped to be on this journey with you guys and see the next levels. And thanks for sharing. Any kind of like final parting words or last bits of advice or things that you wanted to share that maybe we didn't share?
I think we shared about all of it. I just think, we're pretty pumped to grow this business, and we're glad to be partners with y'all. And we think y'all are definitely going to help us out, because any idea, like Teddy says, any idea we think of, you make it work, or we find a better way to make it work. So you can't beat that. You're definitely not slowing us down. You're helping us move forward. So
Love it. That's awesome. And especially like I'm just pumped that you guys are like on vacation. Like you said, now you actually have time outside of work. Like shoot,
right.
you hopped on a plane and hopefully have an awesome time in on the West Coast there for 4th of July and all that. So enjoy your trip. I'm excited. You guys deserved it. You put in the work. You're gonna have a record-breaking month here, and there's still I guess like 4 days left on the calendar. So excited to see where we land, and then we'll ratchet it up from there. But anyways, stoked to be in this with you guys. Thank you for sharing, and we'll see you on the next set of calls.
Yes. All right. Thanks,
all right, you guys. Thanks so much.